Good evening and welcome to the 6 p.m. City Council meeting for Tuesday, July 6, 2021. Let the roll call reflect that all council members are present with the exception, with council members Chaburka and council member Lopez joining us electronically. We'll begin with a Pledge of Allegiance and we'll have Vice Chair White lead us in that.
Please rise if you are able. Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we would ask those who are with us to join with us in a moment of silence. Thank you. First up, we have a request to be on the agenda. It's the Ogden Weaver Technical College 50th anniversary. And we have President Taggart here from the Tech College to present tonight.
Thank you, Chair Blair. Mayor Caldwell, council members, thank you for giving me an opportunity to address you today. I know that many times you get special requests and people come and they are here to ask you for something, for permission for something, or for you to grant them something. We're here today to give you something. And the first thing we want to give you is our thanks. There are 8 technical colleges in the state of Utah, but only one gets to reside in the greatest city anywhere in the state of Utah. And that's the Ogden Weaver Tech College. Yay. We are Ogden's Technical College. The college started 50 years ago on April 23rd with 93 students in the very old Madison Elementary School. The school has changed locations 6 times, always in Ogden and always in a building that was about 3 months shy of being demolished, including the Exchange building out at the stockyards, the old Weber High School, and then finally to our current campus, located just north of 2nd Street. Our name has changed 6 times over the past 50 years, but our commitment to this community has remained the same for the past 50 years. We now have this beautiful 105-acre campus, our main campus. The state has actually owned this property since 1896. And then we have our satellite campus at the BDO Ogden facility. So we're in the heart of Ogden. We've grown a lot since having 93 students in 1971. We now serve over 6,000 students a year. We have 35 high-tech, high-demand programs. Our programs reflect the employer and workforce needs of Weber County. If there's a high demand for that, that's what we train for. We focus a lot on manufacturing, health, IT, business construction, and service. One of the unique things about Ogden Weaver Tech is we are the largest provider of apprenticeship training in the state of Utah. Larger than the community colleges, larger than any of the other tech colleges. 1 in 5 of our students is an apprentice. These apprentices are earning while they're learning. This is an email that was sent to our Student Success Center. Our Student Success Center helps make sure that all of our students are connected with an employer when they graduate. On average, there are about 7 employers waiting for each one of our graduates. This came from a plumbing and HVAC contractor. He wanted to thank us for connecting us with a student. I've blurred the names to protect because I don't have permission to share this from the employer. This this is an electrical apprentice. No, it's a plumbing apprentice. They're going to make $80,000 in their first year. By year 2, they'll be between $100,000 and $120,000. You'll see that they also want our HVAC apprentices. They start them at $120,000. By year 2, he or she will be earning $150,000. That's pretty good to be earning the entire time and starting at $80,000 and within a year or 2 being at $100,000 to $120,000. One of the things that scares me the most is, I didn't highlight this, is it said we also launched in Boise. If someone's willing to relocate, we can help with expenses. This is my biggest fear. This is probably what keeps me up at night the most, is one, can we provide enough trained individuals for the employers here in Ogden and Weber County? And two, are we exporting our talent? We have the very best people here in Ogden, and we do not want to lose them to Boise. Idaho's a great state. Let them grow their own. We want to keep them here. All of our students graduate debt-free. We have scholarships. We have Pell Grants. We do not let students do student loans. Our tuition is subsidized by the state at a very, very low rate. So we want to make sure that everyone graduates debt-free, and so the money they earn goes right back into the economy. All of our high school students attend tuition-free. And here's pictures of several of our students who graduate. That saves mom and dad and students about $750,000 a year in tuition costs. Ogden Weber Tech is not only the largest provider of apprenticeship training, Ogden Weber Tech is one of the most diverse colleges or universities in the state of Utah. 35% of our students are students of color. The largest percentage of that are Hispanic Latino students, and they represent 28% of our student population. This is not on accident. This has been a strategic initiative for the college for the past 6 years. 6 years ago, we were barely mirroring the county. Now we want to match Ogden City. We feel that benchmarking ourselves against the capital city, which drives the rest of the demographics in the county, is the best way for us to proceed. We are not going to rest until we match Ogden City's demographics. We want to make sure that we are meeting the needs of our community, and that's serving those that live in our community. One of the biggest challenges that we have in higher education are individuals and students of color graduate at a lower rate than non-students of color, than our Caucasian students. We are leading the way in the Utah system of higher education in closing that gap. Our Hispanic Latino students that are early college high school students graduate at a higher rate than non-Hispanic Latino students. 5 years ago, our Hispanic Latino adult students were graduating 10% less than non-Hispanic Latinos. That is now flat. We've closed the gap to zero. And that takes a lot of hard work, and it takes a lot of great community support for that to occur. Our graduates all work in high-tech, high-demand jobs in Weber County in northern Utah. We look at all of our students who graduated last year, and we took a conservative estimate of what their first-year payroll would be. That conservative estimate is $80 million. Not bad for students who went to school. Our average program is about 9 to 10 months in length. We have some that are a little bit longer, but $80 million in salaries. That's really a good return on investment. And considering they have no student loan debt, that's money that's going back into our community. Our mission is much like your mission here as our city council and as our mayor, and that is to build a prosperous community. That's the first part of our mission statement. And our job in building a prosperous community is to make sure that we have a highly skilled technical workforce. All of our students have an opportunity to continue their education with a stackable credential at Weber State, Utah State, Salt Lake Community College, and Ensign College as well. President Mortensen and I have been working on several initiatives. While we have partnerships with these other universities and colleges, we want to make sure that residents in Weber County have an opportunity for an associate degree or a bachelor's degree so that they can stay in Weber County. Again, he and I are both concerned about exporting our talent. Our employers in Weber County want individuals that already reside in our community to be able to stay here, to be able to progress, and make an impact in our community. You have seen this picture before. You know, the saying was, you can't get anywhere without going through Ogden. You know, it's great to have that as a message. We feel the very same way as Ogden Weber Tech. We feel that we are the best way to help individuals in our community get anywhere where they want to go. We love associate degrees and bachelor's degrees. We love our partnership with Weber State. We feel that the best way for you to get an associate degree or a bachelor's degree is to get a tech certificate first. We feel that if you are anywhere in your life and you want to get to where you need to go, come to the tech college. So where are we going in the next 50 years? First of all, you need to have a tech college president that yells louder than anybody else at graduation. I invite all of you to attend one of our graduations. First of all, we have a rule. All graduations must be under an hour. We don't violate that rule. Second, short on speeches, shorter than the speech I'm giving right now, and long on celebrating students. We tell the audience, do not withhold your applause till the end. This is one of our students. He's 57 years old and just completed our non-destructive inspection program. This is a very difficult applied physics program. And he said to me in one of his graduate comments, he said, what a great opportunity is to have a college where a 57-year-old can come, learn, and be able to advance in a job. He works for Barnes Aerospace now. One of the comments he made to me is he says, I'm going to tell all my family members, if you want advanced education, you don't go anywhere but the tech college. Many times we've struggled to define what is technical education. Is it vocational education? We've used the term career and technical education. Well, I'm going to start stealing this graduate's comment. What is technical education? It's advanced education, and it's for everyone. One of the things that we are working on very, very closely with Weber Adult Ed. Weber Adult Ed has the responsibility for adult high school completion in all of Weber County. We helped fund a study that Weber State did with the Ogden Civic Action Network, and we have identified that there are about 9,000 individuals in Ogden City alone, adults who do not have a high school diploma or equivalent. Now, we don't have responsibility for high school completion, but we do have responsibility for the success of our community and prosperity. So we are partnering with Weber Adult Ed, and we are piloting the very first dual enrollment program in the state of Utah, where an individual will enroll at the tech college, complete a tech certificate, and complete their high school diploma at the same time. We feel this is going to be a big game changer. We have employers that are looking for individuals, and many times a high school diploma is the barrier. We have many individuals who are working in our community without a high school diploma, but they can't be promoted. This is going to give us that opportunity to make a big, big difference in our community. And finally, we are going to continue to work with Weber State University for a seamless transition to complete associate and bachelor's degrees. Our practical nursing students complete the practical nursing program. The very next day, they start Weber State's, well, actually, a couple of weeks. We do have breaks. 2 weeks later, they start Weber State's RN program on our campus, using the same facilities with Weber State instructors. Those students all complete their associate degree, and 98% of them go on and complete a bachelor's degree at Weber State. President Mortensen and I want to expand that to other areas, where manufacturing students can complete an associate degree and a bachelor's degree on the Ogden Weber Tech campus. And what's even better, they don't have to pay for parking. I mean, who doesn't love that? Our student of the year, Josh Gardner, is a recent Ogden High School graduate. He couldn't be here because we let him take the month of July off. He's getting ready to start at Utah State. He started as a high school student in our culinary program. Within 2 months of being in our program, he applied for a job at a local restaurant because he had such high skills. They started a high school student at a much higher wage, and he was supervising adults. He's going to use his culinary skills to complete a business degree at Utah State. And he would tell you that the tech college and that ability to do more than just book work, to have that hands-on experience, really has set him forward where he's going to be successful in completing his degree at Utah State. And he wants to come back to Ogden and open a Cajun-style restaurant here. And his food is outstanding, by the way. I have a different picture of his Cajun fish tacos. Outstanding. With that, I want to turn the time over to Bryn Murdoch, who is our development director, who would like to talk to you about a gift we'd like to give the city.
Yes, so the college and our foundation wants to recognize, honor, and celebrate our 50 years of serving Ogden City and Weber County by reinvesting in our community. And so we are awarding Ogden City a 50th anniversary scholarship. This is a half-year scholarship for any resident of Ogden City or any employee of Ogden City to continue their education at the technical college or to upskill and retool on the education that they have. But as you can tell from what President Taggart said, we recognize that education has the ability to change an individual's life and their family's life. And in turn, that helps us build a prosperous community. And so we are so excited about the great things that have happened at Ogden Weber Tech these last 50 years and appreciate your partnership and look forward to the next 50 years. And so I have a packet that has all the information about the scholarship. But with that, I'll open the time up to President Taggart or I for any questions that you may have or any comments. But thank you.
Any questions?
I have one, President. You have ground out there still to advance your building and that. Is there a time when you'll run out of room?
I hope not. I would like to say no, but if you think about Weber State's campus, they started with 100 acres and they're landlocked. We have added an additional 7.5 acres in the last 3 years where we've been able to add some property. And so we hope that that's going to keep us whole for at least the next 50 plus years. We do have some demands. We have some newer buildings. We have some older buildings. We had to cap some of our enrollment last year, not because of COVID, but because we were full and we didn't have any additional capacity. So we'll be working with the legislature to fund some additional space. One of the areas that we have the biggest demand is our apprenticeship programs, and we're kind of out of space. So we have a master plan. We're going to be good for probably the next 50 years, hopefully.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any others?
Chair, if I may.
Yes, please.
I just wanted to thank President Taggart. I apologize that I'm not there in person. I go a little bit back with President Taggart. I met him when I used to work at Mount Ford Junior High School a while ago, and I worked with him on a couple of initiatives, and I'm just very impressed with what great an ambassador you are, President Taggart, for the college. And I'm even more impressed as a Hispanic community leader with your work to help our Hispanic community attain education at the college. I remember sitting in President Collette's office with you and your team many years ago, having some conversations about your strategic planning and process, about what you started doing to be a lot more intentional with working with the Hispanic community. And your numbers are very impressive. And I'm almost speechless on what to say about what you've been able to accomplish. And I just want to thank you for that and thank your team. And just let you know that I'm very proud of what I heard today. So thanks for everything you share, and thanks for everything you're doing.
Thank you, Councilmember Lopez.
No, I was going to wait. Let Ben go.
I just want to say that one of the coolest things about what you guys do is that you're offering access to opportunities. I think one of the things that we get caught up in, because it's an easy number, how many jobs do we have coming here, and what are the jobs? And what we forget is that we have the jobs, we just don't have the workforce sometimes to fill that. And I just applaud you for what you're doing. I mean, that whole first 2 or 3 slides about the high tech, I mean, you are hitting spot on what Utah needs now. So thank you for making that shift, and thank you for being in Ogden for sure. And we're noticing all of the people that we know in these pictures. And Chief Young is in this picture, and
Numerous times.
You got better eyes than me.
Yeah. Are there any other comments? If not, we also have something for you. So
I'd just like to say I'm real proud that the Tech College is in District 2. And I have lived in that district all of my life. And, before you all took over the campus, it was the Reform School. I really appreciate the Tech College there more than the Reform School. But I've been a student there with my children who have gone as high school students. And what a great facility you have, and opportunities for everyone, not just young and up and comings. You even take the old guys like me. So I really appreciate that. I just love that it's in our city, and I love that it's in my district. What a great service you do. I've been kind of following Mike Rowe's Generation Next, and this really fits that whole thing. When he talks about the trades are seriously short of people, which I guess is why they're drawing this kind of wages. I think you've got many years of good educating ahead of you. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
I would like to just make a quick comment. I look forward to attending a graduation there hopefully in December, or end of this year. I'm not sure what time or when exactly. And we've talked a lot about the opportunities that you provide, but another opportunity that I think goes unmentioned is I think when people assume that they're going away or going to college, that they have this opportunity to kind of find themselves and find what they want to become. And being a father of someone who's attending the tech college right now, I'm watching that happen in my own home. I have a young daughter or a daughter, she's not young anymore, that is truly finding herself and really enjoying the path that she's chosen and excited about going every day and learning more and coming home and showing us what she learned, telling us what she wants to do and the path that she now has found. So I, as much as I applaud and fully agree with the opportunities that you do provide and what education does provide for our community, I do applaud you also for the experience and for the opportunity that you provide in my case, these young students to find themselves and find a path and find a purpose. And so I applaud you for that also. I don't know if there's any other comments. We have a recognition to honor your 50 years, and we'd ask Councilmember Dodolsky to go ahead and read that.
Yeah, it's not a scholarship, but it's something. You're not going to leave here empty-handed. But President Taggart, you're an incredible spokesman for the institution. You got me fired up, and you got me hungry for cinnamon rolls. Yeah. So,
yeah, we have those big as your face cinnamon rolls. We don't make them every day. I'll send you a text next time they're available.
All right.
I want them right out of the oven.
I'll get to work making my face bigger in the meantime. So we get bigger cinnamon rolls.
President Taggart, can you add me to the text, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. Don't think because I'm not there, I'm not hearing about food. I appreciate it.
Why don't you add the whole council to that text?
Yeah. Sorry, I started something. The Ogden City Council and Mayor proudly recognize Ogden Weber Technical College for providing 50 years of service to the Ogden community. This year, the Ogden Weber Technical College celebrates 50 years of providing hands-on technical education to the community. First known as Skills Center North, the organization opened in 1971 with an enrollment of 93 students. Its primary goal was to help people learn new job skills and gain employment. Now serving 6,000 full and part-time students each year, Ogden Weber Technical College continues to contribute to the growth and economy in northern Utah. Through their excellence and varied programs, the institution provides a quality education through hands-on experience as an alternative to a traditional university education. Students leave ready to contribute to a society in a positive and productive way. We appreciate the contributions of the Ogden Weber Technical College in Ogden City and are grateful it is part of the fabric of our community. We look forward to the college's continued success and wish them our best in all their future endeavors. And we present this to you on the 6th day of July, 2021.
Take a picture. I think we're going to get a picture also. We'll get a picture with all of us. A cosmetology.
Thanks, Brent.
I love the shirt too, by the way.
Oh, we should do right here?
Perhaps we should get it.
Yes.
Here. I think the mayor can fit in there.
All
All right, Mayor Development Director.
I'm on my tippy toes.
Yeah, I want.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. If you two together and kind of on the side over here to the right a little bit, just right there. That's perfect. The mayor's tall enough. You guys can fit.
I'm trying to stall.
I know, right? Really?
All right. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. More for insurance purposes. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll get you. Thanks, Frank. Yep. Yeah, exactly. We need a podium. Okay, next on the agenda is the approval of minutes. First, we have the closed session of March 16th, 2021. Councilmember Heyer.
Yes, Chair Blair, I've reviewed those minutes, found them to be accurate.
And the work session of March 23rd, 2021. Councilmember Lopez.
Yes, Chair, the minutes are accurate, and I move that we approve the minutes.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the minutes by Councilmember Lopez and a second by Councilmember Heyer. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes. Next up, we have a couple public hearings. First up is the fiscal year 2022 annual action plan. And tonight we have Ward Ogden and Kathy Fuentes from the CED department. Thank you.
Good evening. It's great to be back in person. We're here to, getting that up. There we go. Oh, the clicker. Great. We're here to discuss the annual action plan for fiscal year 22. Did I just disable it?
Not that clicker.
I'm known for doing that. There we go. Okay. And I'm Ward Ogden. I'm the manager of the Community Development Division. We're going to propose to re-adopt the annual action plan for fiscal year 22. It involves the sources and uses of the federal funds which come to Ogden City for community development block grant, and a special allocation of community development block grant that is aimed at addressing the coronavirus pandemic, and then our annual home grant. I'll briefly discuss the annual action plan for the public's review. The annual action plan is one of 5 action plans that are adopted to implement the 5-year consolidated plan. That consolidated plan was adopted last year, and so this is the 2nd year of the action plans. It's the application to HUD for the entitlement grant funding for the year. The action plan was adopted in May of this year. Over the past year during the pandemic, HUD has issued a number of waivers and shortened time frames for public comment. We used the 5-day public comment period that had been given for the prior fiscal year and was still in force up through the end of our current fiscal year. But it does require a 30-day public comment period. So there was some confusion there. And so HUD asked us to do a 30-day public comment period to meet that rule. So we've republished and done a 30-day public comment period. In addition to that public comment period requirement, HUD has, after it was adopted, then on May 13th, HUD issued kind of a redo of their statistics on the allocation of the block grant and gave us almost $15,000 more. So that is proposed to be allocated to about $12,000 towards the Quality Neighborhoods budget and about $3,000 towards the administration budget. Again, the 30-day public comment period was published in the Standard Examiner on May 28th, and it ran from May 29th through June 28th, and there were no additional public comments received for that 30-day period. As I mentioned earlier, the purpose of the action plan is to program the federal dollars that come to the city for community and economic development. And so here's a chart showing the community development block grant and where that money is programmed. And again, these were already adopted on May 11th, except that about $12,000 is added to the Quality Neighborhoods program. So there's about $1.3 million going into the Quality Neighborhoods program for the purchase and renovation and sale of homes, $150,000 into the infill housing program. Emergency home repair gets $40,000. Public improvements, $250,000. Business Information Center gets $55,000. The Small Business Loan Program receives $395,000. The Microenterprise Loan Program, $405,000. Special Economic Development Projects, $100,000, and $406,000 to administration for a total of $3.1 million. The coronavirus pandemic precipitated some special allocations through the CARES Act. We received a one-time allocation of $947,104. It carries all of the Community Development Block Grant rules and eligible uses. In addition to that, it must be used to prevent, prepare for, and respond to coronavirus pandemic. It also requires a duplication of benefits analysis so that the funds are targeted specifically and not duplicated. And it's proposed to be used in the Small Business Loan Program, $360,000, and about $587,000 to the Microenterprise Loan Program. The Home Grant is aimed at affordable housing, and the almost $1.3 million is $250,000 goes to Own in Ogden. Community Housing Development Organization project received $68,000, and the Quality Neighborhoods Program $876,000, and the allocation for administration is $86,000. So that is the sources and uses that were approved on May 11th. Aside from that, approximately $15,000 that we've added to it. So that's basically the summary of the action plan, and we recommend that the resolution be adopted. Are there any questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this is a public hearing, so we need to open it, right?
Yeah.
Take a motion to open the public hearing.
Oh, you don't need a motion to open.
No, just to close it. Sorry.
Yep.
Okay. Just a motion to close it, yeah. Yep.
Good evening. Angel Castillo, Ogden resident. It's nice to see everybody. I like your shirt, Councilmember White. The work that the city has done and that Ward Ogden does for the community is amazing. The Own in Ogden program is something I'm extraordinarily proud of. And I think there's a whole lot of what we're doing in that program that we are getting right. There's also some things that aren't going so well in the glorious 63-page document that is this plan. There are no solid milestone deliverables for what success looks like for this plan. Specifically, when you're looking at marketing, it says, oh, we have, these are the things that have been identified that aren't going so well, and there's no plan for how you're going to overcome them, how you're going to reach the people that have identified obstacles within this particular plan. And that's kind of problematic considering we're spending almost $1.5 million. This is all of the impediments are on page 40 with action items. And it says, oh, we're going to engage, we're going to provide assistance. There's no dollar amount assigned to any of this. There's no staff assigned to any of this. And I still have the same problem that I had previously with the fact that these homes are not going to be affordable for Ogden. And when I say Ogden, I mean Ogden proper, the, our town, not Ogden Clearfield Metro, that's 600,000 people with an AMI of almost $70,000. I'm talking about people who live here and have an AMI of 50,000. The Stonehill project, fantastic project, really beautiful houses, did great things for the community. There's currently a home there that's under contract for $460,000, and that house was built for $262,000. You're in this plan, you're going to be building more homes, but you're not going to be doing anything different. You're going to be putting out homes that are not going to be accessible. And I can't recall what page it's on exactly, but one of the goals here is to provide affordable housing. And if you're going to be providing market rate housing, how is that going to help the citizens of Ogden? And we've talked about this previously as well, as we need to do something different. You cannot, with the cost of materials going up, you cannot continue to do the same thing and expect a different result. You need to look to other cities that are doing programs that are innovative, such as Tempe, Arizona, with micro mansions. There are 600 square foot properties with little 200 square foot yards built on a regular lot size that allows people to build equity and move on. Just like these people who bought that Stonehill home for $262 and now are selling for $460. That's awesome. But how are you going to help the kids that are graduating college saddled with debt? How are you going to help our first responders that are at $50,000? This plan doesn't go over any of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I think we're good.
Do we want to have Brandon do his thing for the people that are visiting virtually?
Do you want to explain, Brandon, how someone who's joining us over Zoom could participate also?
Yes, I'd like to. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Chair. If you are joining us via Zoom and would like to participate in this or any public hearing, you can do so by using the raise hand feature, which is found at the bottom of the application.
I don't see any other movement.
Chair, I don't see any hands going up either. And with that, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing on this item.
Second.
We have a motion to close the public hearing by Councilmember Heyer and a second by Councilmember Nadolski. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Any further discussion or a motion?
Chair?
Yes.
I do have a question about Angel's comments, one of Angel's comments about affordable housing. That comes up often in our conversations, and to my recollection, to my knowledge, I don't think that that there has ever been a straight answer. What I've said in the past is that I understand that the issue of affordable housing it's complex, and it's happening probably in most urban cities in the country. Maybe not all. I'm not sure, but I know it's not just us. I know it's a difficult issue happening in a lot of places. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be looking into it and thinking to see if we can do something to help alleviate this. And since, like Angel pointed out, since that is in the plan, I'd like to know a little bit about what is the strategy for the department or the administration to address that.
Ward, would you like to address any of the concerns raised?
Certainly. We've had several work sessions with the council and a few hearings. And I recall, I don't have my notes in front of me, but I'm looking at the spreadsheet in my mind, and we show the comparison between activities that are undertaken using the federal funds and approximately 90% of the units produced overall are affordable to and taken by people with moderate to low incomes. We've also analyzed the Ogden versus Metro MSA as well, and most of those homes are also affordable to people who have incomes at the Ogden median. There's still a lot of people that have incomes higher than that Ogden median, but still meet the federal median as well. So, and we've mentioned that several times. It's something that we've even provided those statistics to the council staff. So the argument of projects that we're doing that aren't affordable, there's a small percentage, but you can focus on that if you like. But there's a specific purpose for that. And that is kind of the balancing act in terms of, we did Stonehill because there's also a need for housing in the community, which is available to people who want to live here, but who also want a product of that type. So it's just a part of the healthy neighborhood concept. But by and large, most of the projects we do, approximately 90%, are affordable to low and moderate income households. The funds that we're talking about today are all focused at affordable housing and assisting people with lower incomes. So that's really what we're talking about. Questions?
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
I did, yeah, before you leave, so the Stonehill, for example, so we sell it at an LMI or an affordable rate, but we don't have there's no reason for us to have any deed restrictions or anything like that afterwards. So they don't have to stay in the house for a certain amount of time, or they don't have to own it for a certain amount of time.
No.
And then they can sell it at whatever market rate. Is that correct?
Some of the projects, yes. Those funded by the home program also have a value limit, and they also have a period of affordability that's required as well.
A what?
A period of affordability. Yeah. So all of the own in Ogden have a deed kind of thing where they have to pay the money back if they don't stay, in that time frame and that kind of thing. So it's really aimed at trying to help people get into homes who have moderate to low income. That's really what we do. We can't control every aspect of the market. We're trying to play in the market. And we're also doing research now to help address the higher cost of construction, higher cost of homes. And so you'll probably be seeing over the next year some proposals coming that address those issues, the higher, the costs increasing, and what we can do about that. As we've talked many times, Ogden has had traditionally and historically some of the more affordable housing in the state. Obviously, our prices are rising and sometimes even higher than the surrounding area, but by and large, our housing is still more affordable than other areas. So how do we keep that affordable housing intact and keep it accessible, and then also help others to help people to purchase those properties that have moderate to low incomes? That's something that we need to figure that out, obviously, as prices rise. In the past, it hasn't been such an issue. Down payment assistance, helping people to buy homes that are already affordable, those kinds of things have worked. Now, with prices rising, we're going to be looking at other ways to help people get into homes and other products that may be more affordable. But as you know, construction costs are quite expensive. And so building a modest-sized home now, that's an expensive home. So,
and I just have another quick question.
Sure.
What are our requirements if we don't hit our goals back to HUD? So these are HUD dollars. So
sure. Yeah.
So we have in our plan that we have to hit those goals. What happens if we don't?
It's not like we get punished for that. It's like we consult with them and we show what we're trying to do, and we're having to kind of work our way through the market as well, and do our best. And as things come up, we may, like I said, we may have to make some changes on the fly and do some changes to programs throughout the year as we see that things change. But we don't necessarily get in trouble per se. It may be something that they work with us on, ways that we can address the programming and guidelines
How often
and
do you have
things.
to report back to them?
Each year, yeah.
Hence the annual action plan.
That's right. Yes.
But generally, Ward, we meet those goals, don't we?
Yes, we're pretty close. And sometimes we exceed them. As an example, last year, not last year, the year before last, we exceeded our own in Ogden by a sizable margin. We had a goal of 45 and we did 70. So.
Chair?
Yes.
May I ask another question? I can't see if someone else is waiting to ask questions.
Go ahead.
Are we able to make amendments to this plan between now and whenever the plan is supposed to end? I mean, how does that work?
There are two plans. There's a consolidated plan, which is a 5-year strategy plan, and that's something that's a big deal. And it's harder to change that, and it shouldn't be changed because it's kind of like a trajectory and it's more general. The action plans as to how do we go about meeting those objectives, those things are easier to change. Each of them can be changed, but the action plan is probably the one that we ought to look at changing. And then in addition to that, program guidelines, which are not adopted in the action plan or consolidated plan, those are your policy documents that you choose.
Thanks for that answer, Ward. So has your office, Ward, with the recent ongoing issues of the drought and water shortages that we're going through, has your office had any conversations about how could we, in the developments or houses that we rebuild or new builds, etc., how could we do our part to be responsible in building structures that will help us conserve water, thinking about the yard requirements and things like that, or has anything like that been considered?
Sure. Yeah, and we consider low water landscapes, and in addition to that, effective design in sprinkler systems actually saves water over just leaving it alone and trying to use hoses. They tend to be watered during the day versus sprinkler systems, which can be very efficient. So we tend to do sprinkler systems and tune them and have them designed properly as well. So.
I don't know if my reception was cutting out or not, but I heard the sprinkler system part. Are there any requirements for landscaping that requires less watering?
I'm not sure what you mean. Oh, is there a requirement for xeriscape?
Correct.
I'm not aware of a requirement for xeriscape. But certainly, I mean, there's plenty of things we can do. I mean, we talk about that within our staff. We have a HELP program, which is not federally funded, but that is something that people can use, and it's really designed for exterior improvements. And hopefully, people can use those funds for adjusting their landscape, fixing their sprinklers, doing xeriscape. That's certainly eligible.
All right, thank you, Ward.
Sure.
I'm interested in being more proactive as a city to do developments that have these type of designs with that use, especially for landscaping, that can can have a great impact on our water conservation. So at a future time, I'll probably bring this up again. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Ward, I wondered if perhaps we were in a meeting, and I can't remember who was the host for sure. I think it was the county, actually. They were talking about, the composition of our different communities in the county. And Ogden has about 4,500 in excess of what we should have this is what I'm having a hard time with, affordable housing units, or maybe that's not the right term. Mm-hmm. Do you know what the right term is?
Right. Yeah. It's really kind of getting at a region-wide look at how the distribution of units that are subsidized and very low income, assisted, and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And Ogden tends to have more. And when you look at what Ogden's need is comparative, because we do have a big need, obviously, but we're shown to actually have an excess of what our need is by comparison to the region. There's others that don't have enough. So there's some that are a deficit, and we have a little bit more.
Right, and so I've asked a few of my peers in other communities around us if they get people coming to their council meetings and saying, "Hey, you guys need to have more affordable housing," and they said, "Nope, nobody comes here." And I'm kind of wondering why that's the case. Why they're always kind of hitting on Ogden, because there is a cost to the community for these kinds of units that they don't pay themselves. Right. If I remember right, Tom was saying that according to the math that he's done, the break-even point for the city is about a $650,000 home. Yeah, and these certainly don't cost that. So every one of these units that we add just continues to cost the people that live here, because there is a cost to this infrastructure that supports any residents.
That's right.
And so I think we as stewards of the finances of the city need to keep that in mind as we continue to provide for the needs that are around us.
Exactly.
I didn't know if you want to have anything to say about that.
Well, again, it gets to looking at the overall health and vitality of our community, and what can we do? Obviously, we want to take care of our own. We want to have a broad range of housing choices that are affordable to the people that want to live there. Yeah. And attainable, and it is desirable to the people that want to live there. So it really comes down to what's a healthy mix, and what's an appropriate sharing of need throughout the community. I mean, we have the homeless shelter here in Ogden. We have the county's social service focused needs as well. And so, but we also have almost all of the subsidized housing.
Yeah, I think that argument gets lost in this discussion, and that's kind of why I wanted to bring it up. So, and you're certainly an expert in that field, so
that's a good point.
Chair, may I make a comment?
Yes, please.
Thank you. And so I never know how to appropriately interrupt in this way. I guess I just wanted to make a comment that I think from listening to this conversation and being involved in so many conversations of the same sort of topic over the last couple of years, it's just becoming more and more apparent to me that I know in the programs that Ward is running, he's got so many reports he has to fill out and so much data and information he has to give back. But it seems like we're continually kind of confused about what money is going where, or how much housing of different types is available, and how we're serving the community. To me, I guess it's just making me think more and more that we need some way to communicate this information differently to constituents and even to us, perhaps, right? Because I guess we just continue to have the same conversations over and over. And I don't know that we're to any resolution yet to what's really needed in the community. I mean, as a body, we don't have a resolution yet for this. And I know that we're working through some different ways to discuss that and to think about innovative ways to address it. But to me, I guess that's just what's kind of becoming more and more apparent to me, is that we have a vision in the departments. I don't know if as a council as a whole, if we have a vision that's all combined, but it just seems like it's just a confusing conversation every time we have it. Like, how many housing units are available? Who can afford certain amounts of them? We get a lot of different information coming from different places. And I do really appreciate, Ward, you bringing that additional information to the work session the last time around the population that's being served in this particular program. But I think that's just part of it. We have to figure out some way to be able to communicate about it so we're all having the same conversation. And so that's just my thoughts on the topic right now.
Are you ready for a motion, Chair?
Yes, please.
Then I would make a motion that we adopt Resolution 2021-6.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion to adopt proposed resolution 2021-6 by Councilmember Heyer and a second by Vice Chair White. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Chaburka?
Aye.
Councilmember Heyer?
Aye.
Councilmember Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Nadolski?
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens?
Aye.
Vice Chair White?
Aye.
Chair Blair?
Aye. That passes. Thank you. Next up, we have the fiscal year 2022 arts grants, and we have Lori Buckley here.
And Christy McBride.
And Christy McBride also.
Hi, council members. It's nice to be here in front of you today to discuss fiscal year 2022 arts grants. We're going to quickly go over and review, as soon as they pull the presentation up, what we talked about in work session last week.
While they're pulling that up, I'll just go ahead and just make a little note or let people know. Because of, I believe it was a noticing glitch, we're going to go ahead and take the presentation tonight and also the public comment tonight, but we're not going to vote on it tonight. We'll go ahead and continue it till next week. So,
okay.
Just so everyone's aware.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So fiscal year 22 art grants. There we go. For this year, $100,000 has been allocated for the budget for arts grants, but an additional $7,000 of rollover money from last year due to COVID. Some grants were returned and unable to use, so we added them to this year. So we have a total of $107,000 for this year. As mentioned before, your role in the process is determine that the value of these programming that comes from these grants is equal to the dollar amount that the grants do, that we do fund out. So the monetary value of the grants equal the community value for our citizens. This year, 32 grant applications were received, and they were reviewed and scored by the Arts Grant Subcommittee, and then the full Arts Advisory Committee recommended that 29 of these applications merit funding this year. That was 10 general support grants totaling $43,500 and 19 project support grants that total $63,500. So that gives us a total of $107,000. These are our general support grants this year. We have chamber orchestra. These are our staples. We see them every year for a concert orchestral group that performs, Eccles Community Arts Center and all the programming that they do there. Good Company Theater, the performing arts for our city, Imagine Ballet, Next Ensemble, which is another performing arts-based music group, Ogden Concert Band, Ogden Contemporary Arts, and some programming that they will be doing for the community there. Ogden Friends of Acoustic Music, better known as OFM, for their Ogden Music Festival that's happening this September this year. On Stage Ogden for a performing arts series at the Monarch, and then the programming that's hosted by Weber State University at the Shaw Gallery, and also their Arts in the Parks program that comes into the parks for the summer for the kids. Our project supports our AMPed Arts. AMPed is going to be commissioning artists to do performing arts, poetry, literature, design media, and other types of performances at the Ogden Amphitheater. Archangel Productions is a new grant this year looking at concerts in the elder care facilities. Banyan Collective is a staple. It's programming for First Friday Art Stroll, the van session concerts that happen at the Monarch. Boys and Girls Club have a new teen drop-in center at the Bigelow Hotel called Create at the Club, where kids can go in and learn about, they have art lessons, photography, digital media, all kinds of things that they can pick up and gain skills on. And they can also interact with the new installations that will be at the Dumke Arts Plaza when that is finished. Dia de los Muertos at the Monarch. This is a kind of a collaboration of groups coming together to produce a bunch of different things that will happen during Hispanic Heritage Month and for, of course, the Dia de los Muertos end of, I think it's November 1st, celebration that will happen. Jessica Greenberg is doing performance for First Friday Art Stroll. It's a kinetic sound and light. It's light projecting and mapping on buildings that will have live performance and music that goes along with it. Joby Dance is a series of workshops and performances based on movement. And Joe Blake is a Weber State dance professor. We are funding Lantern House's children and teen arts programming for their clients that use the Lantern House. Lindsay Heyer is doing a rotating mural project that will be happening, and they'll put the murals up for each First Friday Art Stroll throughout her programming on 27th Street. And then, of course, Nurture the Creative Minds Day of the Dead celebration that we've seen the past 2 years. We're helping to fund that. There is a mural proposed by Ogden Bicycle Collective that will be funded for downtown Ogden. Ogden Movement Collective is another performance-based group. They do a lot of work with the kids in the Ogden school districts that help with the performance, and so they'll have outreach into the Ogden schools plus a performance piece along with it. The programming that goes along with Ogden Nature's Earth Week. We have Festival of the Arts at the Ogden School Foundation, where over 2,500 children participate in this each year, producing art pieces that go that are entered in for juried for prizes, and they do a big show, and it's often shown at the hospital or different places, depends on the year. We have Salty Productions Magazine, which is a new magazine that will be out that's focusing on art and adventure and the culture of Ogden. And then the LQ, which is Ogden's Queer Zine, which is a new magazine that will support the queer community with articles, poetry, literature, photography, and these sorts of things. Proper Way, Ogden City Limits is a video podcast series that has quite a large following. They take local songwriters, singer-songwriter musicians and bring them into the studio and do a show about that particular artist for each episode of their podcast. And I believe we're coming up on their 3rd season, I believe. So it's really well done. If you haven't seen it, you need to check it out. Weber County Cultural Arts Alliance. This is in conjunction with Perry's Egyptian and the Arts and Excellence concerts that are free and given to the community. I believe there are 9 of them for this next season. And then, of course, Youth Impact, which is they're going to be focusing on a street art project where they'll learn about street art, and then the kids are going to produce a mural at the end of their program for this one. So in total, this year, we received $87,275 requested from general support grants and $123,676 for project. So that gives us a $210,951 total with $107,000 to fund out. So we follow the ordinance at closest to 40-60 split as we can. So that gives us $43,000 for general, $63,000 for $500 for project. And I just want to remind you that the scores are how we score the grants and what quality and criteria that we're looking at. We look at their artistic mission and the quality of the programming that is offered. We look at how many creatives are being supported and how many community members are being served with the programs. We also ask them, are they serving underserved populations? Do they consider diversity, equity, and inclusion in their programming? We look at their track record and experience to see if they have a strong ability to actually implement and be successful with their programming. We also look to see that they have a strong marketing plan and a solid budget for their project. And of course, we always check to see that their project aligns with the goals and objectives of the Arts Master Plan. So these grants, of course, as you can see, have become very competitive. We have $200,000 of ask and $100,000 to grant out. So as always, we can't help everyone. We try to spread as much as we can. But there are a few reasons for denial, and those would be the application just didn't score very well. Either the person needs a little more experience, or they hadn't fleshed out their idea enough. They need to work on it, so they have a low score using the review criteria. Or a project comes in that doesn't technically serve the community of Ogden, or every once in a while we get an incomplete application or one that the budget is just not even feasible. So those are a couple of reasons why a couple of grants might get denied. So do you have any questions? Since we're not actually voting on this tonight, and we'll wait till next week on that, but do you have any questions on any of these grants?
I have a question that I'm curious as to if any of these applications, their project just won't go forward unless we give them some money.
Usually we like to see, and this is where you're talking about the strong budget, we like to see that the person has other sources of funding. So either a lot of our nonprofits they have outside funding sources such as RAMP or private funding from different sponsorships or something. So most of the time on the general support grants, those programs will happen without our support. We just like to continue to support because it's so good for the community.
Oh, yeah. I agree. I just wondered if that was something that happened.
Yeah, we've had some small ones that have come through. Like last year we had a small grant application. I think it was only for $375, and we were the only source of funding. And it hasn't happened yet because COVID happened and everything. But there are a few that come through that people are just getting their feet under them, and it's nice to give them a leg up and help them get going on their artistic ventures.
All right, thank you. I think it's important to say that Lindsay Heyer, though we might be related and likely are, I've never met her, so we're not closely related. So.
So do you have a workshop where you bring in the applicants and say, this is how to fill out the application and this is what we're looking for?
I do. I do. Each spring when I open the Arts Grants Open, usually at the end of January, I offer 2 different workshops. Mm-hmm. And I do have a Spanish interpreter at each because the applications are shared out in Spanish and English so that if we have any of our Spanish-speaking community members that would like to apply, that they can come and learn at the workshop. So we go over all of the questions and I explain what we're looking for, how the system works, like how to navigate through, applying for your first grant. I give them tips and tricks and all kinds of things to help, new grantees to apply.
So the grants, are any of those Spanish that we were looking at today?
Dia de los Muertos, both of those are there's 2 actually that are tied into that are both tied this year to the Spanish community. But last year we had several. We had the Latin Film Festival, but actually we didn't get one written in Spanish this year. Okay. So.
And on the Lantern House, do we ever go down to the rescue mission and say, do you have any applicants that we would like to look at there? Do you include that one also?
I have not done that. I do know the Lantern House, the staff at the Lantern House does the application and applies for funding from us for their Arts Learning Center there, but I haven't actually gone down to the mission and asked if anyone.
Maybe the Lantern House should call over and say, do you have anybody that would be interested in something? So.
Any other questions?
I think you got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we will go ahead and accept public input on this tonight. We just won't vote on it tonight.
Good to see you, James.
Yep.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I'll keep it kind of short. James Ebert, the Boys and Girls Club. I'm the executive director. And on behalf of the families and children and youth that we serve, we'd like to say thank you to Ogden City. Thank you to Lori and her team and all of those who have really put this together. We have just created a new drop-in center to address initially the COVID response for Ogden School District. If there are some specific sites that have been closed down, we wanted to have a place for those youth to go. And as we transition again into providing additional services as we move past COVID, it gives us an opportunity to do that. Specific to this site that we applied for, we have a challenge in these days in getting teenagers to come to after-school programming because there's a myriad of things that they can do and exciting things. And so in order to do that, we have to find ways to attract them and bring them in. And so for our club at the Drop-In Center, we're really looking at building out this recording studio, podcasting center, and then the opportunity then also at that site for them to come and take different types of music lessons in an area where the sound quality is what it needs to be to kind of move that forward. So we proposed that, and we were lucky enough to be awarded some dollars to start that. So specific to the question, would something like this move forward? Probably not for us, which again inhibits our ability to attract youth, especially those teenagers. So, and then not only in this program, I'd just like to say we much appreciate Ogden City and forward thinking and the way that they look at social services. Their Hispanic Latino community, which we're heavily involved in and providing services to, and really help many nonprofits move that mission forward. And so many of you I've talked to on different things specific to this and got continued support along with Mr. Johnson and Mayor Caldwell. So thank you very much on behalf of Boys and Girls Club here in Weber and Davis County. And just really quickly as I walk away, we provide services. Our usual ADA, non-COVID, is over 400 kids a day and about 350 youth in our summer programming. So we do have an impact both into Weber County and specifically into Ogden proper. So thank you again for your support, and we appreciate your team.
Thank you.
Thanks, James.
Hi, council members. My name is Hannah Bocut. I'm from Lantern House. Just wanted to thank you for granting us a gift in support of our arts program there. The kids who are at our shelter are often, they've experienced a lot of trauma in their lives. They don't have a lot of consistency sometimes. And our little arts center has been a place for them to express their feelings, connect with adults, connect with other kids in the shelter. It's been really wonderful. So your support is helping buy supplies and the programming that'll happen over the next year there. Councilmember Stevens, I don't know if we've connected with the mission in terms of bringing kids over, but that's something I'll look into because I know a lot of our homeless kids, we take them to Youth Impact for after-school programming as well. They're also a recipient of an arts grant, so that might be a good connection to make. I'll try to make sure that happens.
Okay.
And Lori, thanks so much for all your work that you do on this. I probably have sent you a lot of annoying emails, but thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Michael Palumbo, the conductor of Chamber Orchestra Ogden. I'm standing here in front of you again saying thank you for all of the support you've given us in the past years. We can't run our programs nearly as effectively if we don't have the financial backing to do things like pay musicians, buy music, things like that. And so we've always appreciated what you've done for us. I just wanted to reiterate that, and I won't take a whole lot of your time. Yeah, 30 seconds. Good. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Hello, my name's Tana Halbert. I'm the director of Ogden Movement Collective, and I just also want to say thank you so much. We are just starting out, and we formed in the era of COVID, so we look forward to a strong, we're bridging performance dance with outreach workshop dance. So it's both the process and the product, and we're really excited to hear of other grant recipients that perhaps we could outreach to and work with and provide the workshop ends as well as the performance. So thank you, and thank you, Lori.
Good evening, Cameron McLeod. I'm a local business owner and artist, and I just want to reiterate what's already been said, but we, as artists in the community, appreciate your support, especially for the project support grants that we have. It gives a lot of small artists opportunity to participate in the community and bring their works, and that's very unique to Ogden. So along with the general support grants, really we can't thank the council enough for its support. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and council people. My name's Michelle Tanner. I'm with OFOM and Ogden Friends of Acoustic Music. And thank you so much for your past support of our music festival. We have families who've grown up going there and a lot of kids who are becoming involved in music. And we like to think we're part of that. That's a big part of our mission, is putting instruments in kids' hands. And COVID had us reevaluate that part of our mission, and we've started a new program. So in addition to our Ogden Music Festival, that will be September 3rd through 5th at Fort Buenaventura. Hopefully we'll have a viaduct open, but if not, we'll make do. In addition to will be our 13th annual, we've started an instrument project, which is called The Will and the Way. Will stands for Weber Instrument Lending Library, and the Way is Weber Acoustic Youth. And we'll have these instruments at our annual instrument petting zoo at the festival, where kids are mentored one-on-one. But in addition to that, these high-quality fine instruments will be available for our community, and with a focus on underserved. We'll be working with Youth Impact and their after-school program. And we'll be adding an instructional component as we're able to get the program really going on its feet. We've got some help from RAMP. And also Weber Davis Boys and Girls Club. They've been part of the planning from the very beginning, as well as a lot of our community musicians who've really gotten behind this project. So we're really excited for Will and Way. And also, we've had a long-time desire to be involved in our Latinx community, and we're part of the Dia de los Muertos. We're bringing a national touring band from LA, Las Cafeteras, on November 5th at the Monarch to cap off a week-long film festival, altar celebration of life and death of folks we've lost from COVID. And we're looking forward to working with our LUPAC, Action, Image of Northern Utah for that event. I just want to say thank you once again, and thank you, Lori, I was kind of a problem child too with all my emails, but we love Ogden and love bringing great music and being part of the vibrant arts community.
Thank you.
Hey, my name's Kai Hallows. I'm the owner of Lavender Vinyl on 25th Street. And the LQ is our new project. It's bringing recognition to queer people of all ages in our community. There's a lot of them. I know that I could have benefited from that when I was younger, and I feel like I'm in a position now where I want to give back. And so thank you guys for recommending us for this. I'm really excited to see what some of the queer youth in our community have to offer, and I think we should be highlighting their voices. So thank you, and thanks, Lori.
Thanks.
Get the one online too.
Okay.
Good evening, Angel Castillo. All those stories, right? You feel really good about what this money is doing in the community, and I'm sure all of you have had a chance to visit the astounding murals by Remix, right? They're huge. They're awe-inspiring. He's an artist that is of a certain caliber that cost $175,000. The budget for Lori is not enough. You're not doing enough. And the way you can fix that is to move Ogden forward to a percentage for art program and allow that percentage for art program that doesn't come out of your general fund, but comes out of percentage of development that gets distributed to art. Art isn't just murals. It isn't just painting. Sometimes it's play. Sometimes it's music. Sometimes it's dance. Sometimes it's theater. And as you've heard, it can be life-changing for people. And we have a community that needs and wants this. And what you've done thus far is amazing, and it's great. And I'm really appreciative for it, but you can do more. Salt Lake City just moved their percentage of art to 1.5%. It doesn't have to cost you. It doesn't have to cost you anything to improve the quality of arts within our nonprofits and within our communities. All it takes is moving us forward to act like the big city that we really are. We're no longer 20,000 people. We deserve a percentage for art program, and a 1.5 percentage one. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we also have one online with his hand raised. So if you would allow Trevor Jones to go ahead and speak, that'd be great.
Hello, esteemed council members. Can you hear me? I guess my video is not coming in, but can you hear me at least?
Yes.
Excellent, thank you. Hi, I'm Trevor Jones. I'm an Ogden resident. I've lived here for about 2 years. I'm very involved with the renewable energy scene. I'm very interested and invested in it. I understand that it was on your work meeting earlier today.
Trevor, real fast.
Yes.
Right now, we're taking public input on the arts grants. Is this?
Oh, I apologize. I will wait and continue my response later on.
We'll make
that
sure
said, with regards to this art grant, I'm fully in support, and I think it's a very good and worthy cause. So,
perfect.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll get back to you.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Very good, Trevor.
Yeah.
Chair, if there's no more people that want to get up, going, I will make a motion that we continue this petition to next week, which will be July 13th.
I second it.
Thank you. We have a motion to continue this item to January 13th, 2021.
July.
Sorry, July. Thank you. To July 13th, 2021. See, I need them. By Councilmember Heyer and a second by Councilmember Stevens. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
That passes.
Chair?
Thanks. Yes.
I attended North Ogden production during Pioneer Days a couple years ago, and the Ogden Chamber Orchestra was there, and they're a great ambassador for the city of Ogden, and I appreciate their music was enjoyable, and it seemed like they enjoyed playing there, but they are a great ambassador for our city.
For sure. I've said this going on 12 years now, but this is one of my favorite nights of City Council to get to see exactly where that money goes and all the people it impacts. So this is a wonderful night, and I look forward to this every year. But thank you for all that you do for our community and to further the arts here for all of our residents.
I just want to make a comment. I've been on the council a little while, and one of the things is we used to have a percentage of arts based on development. And it was great in great times, but in lean times it was not so great. And so one of the reasons why we moved to more of a consistent dollar amount, and I will agree that it's probably not enough, but we moved to more of a consistent amount so that we could have it every year. So in lean times and great times, at least it's there. So I just wanted to make that comment that we have looked at that in the past, and it has been that way before. So at least this is a consistent amount. So.
If I could add to that.
Go ahead.
I agree, though, that it's not enough.
It's never enough.
Yeah.
But look, we sure get a lot. And when we had 1% for the arts, projects were not going into this kind of scale. We weren't seeing this kind of quality, and we definitely weren't having this many artists in the chambers thanking the city for the work that they do. And shouldn't be thanking the council. Thank Lori and Christy, obviously, but we just answer the question yes or no. They do all the work. Thanks for being here tonight.
Chair, may I make a comment?
Yes, please.
I just wanted to congratulate all of the artists and organizations that are here present or put their name in and decided to put their heart and soul out there and request funds from the city. And I'm really sad I can't be there to shake all your hands. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Makes me want to get my harmonica back out.
It does.
I'm getting ready for that.
Well, like Ben said so many times, thank you, Lori, and thank you, Christy. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Okay. Next up, we have reports from the Planning Commission. We have the residential reuse in non-residential zones, and we have Barton Brierly from CED here tonight. Perfect.
Planning, sorry.
I'm putting them on now. Go ahead.
Good evening, Chair Blair and City Councilors. This item will consider an amendment to the zoning ordinance dealing with reuse of non-conforming buildings in non-commercial zones. So the issue, okay. There we go. So this has to do with buildings that were originally built as single-family dwellings but are now in commercial zones and have been converted to commercial or other non-residential uses. There are 50 to 100 of these in Ogden. And the issue is once they've been converted to a use that's permitted in the commercial zone, the code doesn't allow them to revert back to a single-family dwelling. And we brought this issue to the Planning Commission, and we had a case where a gentleman had a house, he converted it to a business and wanted to go back to use it as a dwelling, and we had to tell him no, he couldn't do it. The commission looked at it and thought this would be a good alternative to just allowing the house to deteriorate. If it's not really good commercial property, it might just continue to go downhill. Also, we are on a very tight housing market, and this would provide a little bit of additional housing in the community. So this would allow that if it was originally built as a single-family dwelling, even if it was converted to a permitted use, that it could go back to a single-family dwelling. And this continues a tradition that Ogden's had of allowing reuse of structures to their original use. For example, we have a lot of commercial buildings in residential zones. There's provisions in the code to allow them to revert back to commercial uses. We have a lot of duplexes in single-family zones. If a building was built as a single-family dwelling and was just abandoned in a commercial zone, it can go back and be used as a single-family dwelling. The Planning Commission was very interested in that if we do allow them to revert back to a single-family dwelling, that it be a livable structure for the residents there, that it have a residential character, so it's a good place for them to live. Also, that contribute to the attractiveness of Ogden and our neighborhoods, so that it just doesn't continue to deteriorate or become blighted with things like ghost signs or unused parking lots out front, or parking areas that just end up being collections of old vehicles and dilapidated vehicles. So the Planning Commission wanted to institute several requirements that if it were to revert back, and one was that that no more than half the front yard be paved, that any commercial signs be removed. Of course, it would have to meet residential codes. And this is an example of a commercial area right along Washington Boulevard with single-family homes, so that you can see these look like single-family homes. They feel like single-family homes. So this was the kind of idea that the Planning Commission wanted it to be. Should note that the requirement in commercial zones is to have front yard landscaping. And so the buildings that you see that have paving and parking clear up to the front property line, those are actually non-conforming because of that. This is an example of a building that was being reused and was being required to meet that 15-foot front yard landscaping. And of course, xeriscaping is allowed, or as I understand, it's now being called Utahscaping. So there's water-wise landscaping allowed. And again, wouldn't allow outdoor storage on those lots, so those front yards aren't being used just to pile up building materials or other things, and they couldn't be a storage area for vehicles that don't belong to the resident. Again, not wanting to just become a junkyard. I know the council had questions about, and the Planning Commission had questions about, could it be used for a dwelling and a business? And there are provisions in the amendment to allow that. For example, if you had a home that was converted to a business and you wanted to create a little apartment in there, we do allow accessory apartments. You could do what's called a live-work unit, where part of the building is used as a business and the rest is used as a residence, and there are specific building code requirements for that. Or you could do an actual firewall between the two and have just a business in one part and a residence in the other. So though there are provisions to do both. So the Planning Commission looked at this and recommended approval, and so staff and Planning Commission recommend that you adopt the zoning ordinance amendment, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Did the lady salons come up, hair salons? Did that ever come up as a discussion?
Yes. In fact, several of the businesses we looked at were just that. They were salons that the house is converted to a salon and then wouldn't be eligible to go back to a residence without this particular amendment.
What if a building was built in a residential zone that was built as a commercial structure? How can it be made to be a residence? I mean, if it doesn't meet the residential code, maybe it doesn't really apply. I'm just aware of one. And is that?
It's possible. There's building codes that it would have to meet in order to convert it to a residence, because you have to have like bedrooms and windows in your bedrooms, and
right. They got to be able to get gotten out of.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe that's a discussion for offline, but
yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. We can receive public input on this item. So if you would like to address the council on the on this proposed ordinance, please come forward.
Hello, thank you. My name is Damon Bocchino. I'm a broker, real estate broker, and do quite a bit of business in your area. So thank you for that. Actually, my neighbor is Mayor Caldwell's brother, Steve. So
I apologize in advance.
But anyway, So we brought this forward for a couple of reasons. One is we all are probably aware that housing costs lots of money now. And in Ogden and surrounding cities, there isn't very much affordable housing. And this actually, this property that is one of our properties that we're dealing with is fits this because it was a commercial property. It is commercial now, but it was built as a residential home prior to it becoming a commercial property. And the benefit would be that my client could then get a residential loan on this, where she can't do that right now because it's commercial. And the requirements for commercial versus residential are really strict and stringent. And so it would benefit my client to be able to get the residential loan, to then put this loan into a 30-year mortgage instead of a commercial loan, which is just not possible for her to do right now. So thank you very much for everything. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Seeing no other movement, I would go ahead and entertain a motion.
Chair, I'd make a motion then that we adopt ordinance 2021-36.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Councilmember Heyer to adopt proposed ordinance 2021-36 and a second by Vice Chair White. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Heyer?
Aye.
Councilmember Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Nadolski?
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens?
Aye.
Councilmember Chaburka?
Aye.
Vice Chair White?
Aye.
Chair Blair?
Aye, thank you. That passes. Next up, we have the MRD zone text amendments. And I believe we have, looks like Greg Montgomery here to present.
So, it pulled up. So now I got to learn how to use this little right arrow. Okay, good. So the city had received a petition from the Boyer Company, and Aaron Osted is here today representing the Boyer Company if you have questions of him and regarding this petition. But the Planning Commission reviewed this petition, which was requesting to amend a couple provisions that deal with the manufacturing research development zone that's found in the Business Depot Ogden. Several amendments have been made over the years as we learned how BDO was developing and setting the criteria from the original master plan of the reuse of the defense depot. And one of the things that had taken place was we were concerned when the borders of BDO was next to the nature center. And so there's special provisions that have been put in place. One of those was that with the MRD being a border zoning to the nature center, not to have any warehousing larger than 50,000 square feet to try to minimize any impacts to the mission of the nature center. Well, the MRD goes beyond where the nature center limits are. And as this map shows, you can see how that MRD is along 1200 West, is along 12th Street, and then also along the nature center area, and then also where the Standard Examiner property is. And then the rest of the BDO is zone defense depot reuse, the DDR zone. And over time, you can see what has taken place from how the defense depot was before it became BDO, and going back now, you can see all the buildings that have been built since that time. One of the things that we looked at were the standards and the differences between the DDR and the MRD. DDR had a 50-foot height limit, mainly because of many of the existing facilities there where the MRD did not have a height limit. And one of the concerns was, as the commission talked about this would be an opportunity to help our neighbors to the west on 1200 West to be able to have something more in scale with what they have, as there's a requirement of a 40-foot landscape buffer between 1200 West and any development. That and then limiting height would be a better neighbor than having something that could be unlimited height next to those residential properties on the west. So one of the things that is being proposed tonight is to set that restriction for 1200 West with these revisions going on of potential on the MRD for warehousing. The other thing we looked at was the 50,000 square feet. Now that only applied to warehousing, but much of the MRD development are much larger buildings than 50,000 square feet, as this example shows next to the Nature Center. And there was a provision made that along the Nature Center that larger warehouse could take place with certain design criteria of orientation of openings for services and warehousing. So that idea of 50,000 square feet and transitioning, the MRD has a lot of examples of buildings that are larger than that function properly and can be good neighbors. The other thing that exists in the BDO is the uniform building design. Throughout there, you'll see that there's a constant design, and so many times you can't tell what the use really is inside. And so one of the concerns we expressed was, well, if you can't tell by the appearance, you definitely don't want to tell by maybe noise or odor. And so one of the other provisions was to put in requirements of containment of noise, of smell, of fumes if they're along 1200 West. And so as the Planning Commission looked at this petition, they felt it was appropriate to make a change to the MRD provisions to allow warehousing to take place. That's one of the needs that we've seen over the years, and I think Aaron can talk about that. And that 50,000 square foot limit is not where the market is at. And so being able to use those spaces with larger buildings that would have the necessary buffer, especially on 1200 West, is an important consideration. So the Planning Commission's recommendation to you tonight is to approve these proposed revisions as has been petitioned, with the amendments of the height limitation and containment requirements for anything from the outdoors not being detectable. And so, any questions you have? And I'm sure Aaron would like to speak.
Any questions? All right. Thanks. This too is a public, has public input. Is there anyone that would like to make comment or public input on this? The only one person that I would think would want to.
I don't know that anybody could say it any better than Greg Montgomery, so well said. No, thank you so much for allowing us to be here. I think the one thing that I would just point out is things have changed as far as the environment and where we live. If you look at what's happening in especially commercial real estate, you can really see how the industry's changed. I've been with BDO for going on 16 years now, and when we first were out there, really it was all build-to-suit. Everything was build-to-suit options, and so we'd have these people come in and we would build them specific buildings for their needs. That need has really changed. Everything now is spec building, so it's getting product out on the market and then allowing those tenants to come in and fill that space, and that's been one of the big changes. With this MRD zone change that Greg talked about, especially along 1200 West, there's been a concern always to make sure that we're good neighbors, especially along that 1200 West line. And we've always tried to be good neighbors there with the Nature Center, with Far West, as well as with the residents there with Marriott Slaterville. So changing these requirements actually help. When we first started out at BDO, the idea was that MRD or manufacturing was actually going to be less obtrusive to those neighbors, that it was actually going to be something that is not as noticeable as warehouse space. And that actually has come to be the opposite. We've come to see that that's actually the less preferred space, because you do end up with machinery and things like that that make noise that isn't pleasant. We've dealt with neighbors in Far West where we had to do additional modifications to units and things like that on manufacturing facilities to keep the noise level down to where it needed to be. So this really is an attempt to also help buffer that area along 1200 West from any noises or additional smells or anything like that could come from a manufacturing plant. Any other questions?
Just thank you for being a good steward of our image to the folks of the West. That's a pretty important thing, I think, to us, to make sure that those people don't have a bad image of Ogden because of noise or working late at night. You know, the issues that were in the past. Appreciate you taking care of those.
Oh, you bet. We appreciate that as well. Anything we can do to be good neighbors, we really do try. And we've had experiences in the past where being out at 2 a.m. trying to figure out what that noise is. So we try hard. I appreciate that.
Thanks.
Thank you. Seeing no further public input.
Chair, I'll make a motion then that we adopt ordinance 2021-37.
I second it.
We have a motion by Councilmember Heyer, second by Councilmember Stevens to adopt proposed ordinance 2021-37. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Nadolski?
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens?
Aye.
Councilmember Chaburka?
Aye.
Councilmember Heyer?
Aye.
Vice Chair White?
Aye. That passes. I should probably make note that Chair Blair had to leave a little bit early, so he has passed the baton to me. Next up on the agenda is reports from administration, parking violation fee amendments. I'm thinking, is it Gabe? I'm just making sure. Since you're just hanging out over there, I'm like, there's got to be a reason, right?
Well, thank you for again entertaining some more fee changes that I'm proposing. Tonight we're talking parking citations, and the impetus for this change is we are currently implementing new software to manage our parking citation enforcement around the city. And so as part of that implementation, we always try to take the opportunity to find whatever it is within our current ordinance or business practices to try to make it fit to the software that we're going to be using, and also to whatever changes we see necessary that have come about. And so first the software implementation, but also after looking at the ongoing costs that we foresee we will have for parking enforcement, the fees that we currently collect are not sufficient to maintain that going forward. And so we do need to want to address that as well. And as far as scope, tonight we're talking about just the structure of our fees. We're not going into anything specific about our parking policy or needs or the citations themselves. We're not changing any of the actual infractions that you might get a parking citation for. It is purely relating to the fee structure. This is our current fee structure. We have about 30-ish infractions that are possible. They're organized into 5 categories for purposes of assigning a fee to them. And then on the upper portion of this graphic, you can see we have a full, on the right-hand side, the full penalty as described in ordinance, and then we have 3 tiers of reductions based on the amount of time that it takes to pay the citation. So this is our current state of affairs. Again, after looking at the way that our new software will work and also taking into account the need to increase revenues to cover the cost of this program, we are proposing that we limit or reduce the number of categories to 3, and then we modify our reduction periods to 2. So we would have 2 15-day periods in which you could receive a reduction on the full penalty amount. We have found that the majority of citations are paid within the first 10 to 15 days. And so we really haven't changed, or not asking to change, the full penalty amounts really very much. Really what we're focusing on is the amount within the first 15 days, because that's where the majority of our citations are actually paid. And with those changes, we hope that we will increase revenues to cover the cost of the program. And then this is just a comparison of the two, the proposed and the current, as I've described, to give you some feel for the consolidation and changes that we are proposing. This graphic is intended to show a little bit about the other entities that we are able to find information on regarding parking enforcement and citation amounts. On the left, you have the city as it currently exists. We have 5 categories. The amounts shown are the least amount that you would pay for each category. So in Ogden, you can pay as little as $100 and then up to $110. As an example, the city of Provo, they are very reduced in that. They only have the 2 categories, and those are the 2 smallest amounts that you can pay. So looking at this overall, we are quite low in comparison to the surrounding organizations that have parking enforcement, especially when we look at the cities. We are quite low in comparison. We do have 2 other changes that are not specifically to fees, but are were recommended that we adjust. The first is the general applicability of parking enforcement in current ordinance. It does talk about specific locations in the city where we would enforce parking, when in reality it is all public property that we would enforce parking on. And so we are making a small change in that language. And then second, hearing officer provisions, we do have the ability for a person to appeal. And then based on current ordinance, you are allowed to, or that hearing officer can provide for a reduction in penalties. But again, we received counsel that we should modify that such that you would either, your appeal would be granted and we would completely dismiss that citation, or we would not. So it kind of reduces the likelihood of arbitrarily reducing penalties and that sort of thing. It is, if you appeal is granted, then we will dismiss the citation entirely. That is all I have. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions? Yes.
I do have a question. It's kind of how you deal with, is it the car that owes the fee, or is it the owner that owes the fee, or is it the person who parked it there too long that owed the fee?
Per ordinance, strict liability is to the owner of the vehicle.
Owner of the vehicle.
Yes.
And so let's say my child goes out and parks my car and gets a citation, doesn't bother to tell me. How am I to know before it gets to be $110?
So as it stands right now, and the process won't change a great deal, but there is a notification process that after the citation is written, we have that first period. Currently it's 10 days. If the citation isn't paid within that 10 days, that's when we begin looking for ownership information. And it's that point that we would begin notifying the owner based on information that we were able to find.
So is the clock still running whether the owner actually knows he's got a citation or not?
Correct. Correct. Now with the system that we're moving to, the owner would actually receive 2 notifications. One during the 15 from the 15 to the 30-day period, and then they would get another notice after the 30-day period, letting them know that there was a citation on the vehicle.
Okay, thanks. Yeah. Maybe just to follow up. So sure. If he were to appeal, what would likely be the the way it worked out? I mean, if he came and said, "Look, I didn't find out until 20 days after it happened. I'm here to pay it." Would they say, well, okay, we'll give you the lower rate? Are they able to do that, or?
At present, they do have some leeway to negotiate to some degree as the hearing officer as part of the appeal. So in a normal course of business, a person that was taking the call would not be able to, but if they did go through the appeal process, I believe they do. I don't know that an ordinance that specifically says exactly what that is. But generally, we do work with people. Just for example, we'll do payment plans, that sort of thing. If that best serves the person we're working with.
Yeah, it just seems complicated.
If I could interrupt, the answer is actually probably no. Okay. So right now, you really only have 3 or 4 items for which the fine can be lowered. in talking with the people who administer the appeals program, there's a concern that it's arbitrary about who gets that and who doesn't get that, and that it's actually not best practice to do that. And the situation you describe, while it's unfortunate for the owner, is one of those where it would invite arbitrary treatment, because they have to pick and choose between whose story they believe. And so in all likelihood, the answer would be, I'm sorry, this is the nature of strict liability. You're responsible for who you let take your vehicle, and you'd be responsible.
Take him to the woodshed.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the most friendly thing to give, but it's the most consistent and fair.
Yeah, I understand.
Way.
And that's what my thought was, followed up that if that was the case, then everybody would have that story.
Correct.
Thank you, Mark.
So what about your payment? If someone works out a payment of that fee, is that the same situation?
No, a payment plan, they have, I think, a lot more latitude as far as helping people figure out how to pay, but they wouldn't change the amount.
Okay.
In our work session, you mentioned, or someone mentioned, I can't remember who it was, where do the majority of the tickets, where are the majority of tickets written? I think actually Captain Scott.
I believe I have a police backup that might be able to answer that.
Literally police backup?
Yes. You're the police backup.
Council members. Thank you for the question, council members. I'm Captain Scott with Ogden Police Department. The question was, where are the majority of tickets written?
Yeah, I mean, are you seeing them in certain areas of the city? I'm just trying to see, is it spread out all over the city? Or?
It is spread out. The majority would be downtown and near the Weber State University. That's the majority of the tickets. But as we said in our work session, or as I mentioned in the work session, we receive a number of complaints in the residential areas as well. And so we respond to that. Our parking officers and patrol officers respond to that. And there is a number of ordinances that deal with residential issues and problems in the residential neighborhoods.
Which is a little bit different than this?
A little bit different than the timed parking, say at downtown.
Got it.
So does the community officer write the citation in the residential area, or is it the regular patrolman?
It could be either. Okay. So our parking technicians, our parking enforcement officers can and oftentimes are dispatched to the residential areas and issue a citation. If they're not available or it's outside of their normal working hours, a patrol officer can also issue a citation or a parking citation. And with this new system, we'll have that developed where we'll have more of an electronic means to issue these citations.
And on a vehicle that's abandoned, how many days can it be abandoned on the street?
Well, we have private property, if my memory serves me correctly, 7 days. I'm going back a few years, last time I wrote a parking ticket, and I believe it's 24 hours currently. It was 48 at one point, but I believe it's currently 24 hours on a residential street.
Okay.
Mark,
Legal's giving you the nod, and you're good.
I got the nod? Okay, yeah. All right. It's a tough question.
Any other questions? I look up. All right, thank you.
Any more for me?
No, you're great. Thanks. This too is a public input.
Angel Castillo, Ogden resident. I 100% agree that we should increase the fees. It's the right thing to do. It sounds like we have a good program that's going to be reaching out to people who have fines. But whenever we change policy, I always like to ask myself, are there any unintended consequences? And one thing that I didn't hear, and maybe I'm missing it, I looked at the site and I read through the agenda, but what about the people that can't afford to pay their parking tickets? What program do they have? I also didn't see what the pay structure breakdown looks like. Utah County does $10 an hour community service if it's needed. And I think that especially with a lot of struggles that we've been having with COVID, people losing their jobs, trauma tends to snowball with people when they have some issues. And I also want to find out what's the escalation of when does it become too many tickets? When does the vehicle become impounded? When is there a boot? And then I'm again going back to people who are experiencing some sort of financial hardship. How do they get out of that? Specifically because if someone loses their vehicle and it's their only means to work, it just goes further down the hole. And then where those, when is it repossessed? When does it get booted? That also goes to, are there any actual arrests that are made? I know that there are some cities in the nation that you can literally get arrested if you rack up enough parking tickets. I couldn't find any information about that for Ogden. And that's something I'm concerned about, because I don't want to see somebody's life ruined because they're experiencing financial hardship and there was a way for them to get out of it. Libertas, the website, over 3,000 Utahns are annually arrested for failure to pay fines. I want to know how parking fits into that. Is that something that we just give a pass to, or how does that work? So those are my questions. I support fully the increase of fees, and it sounds like it's a good thing for the city, and the new software sounds great, but I'm worried about unintended consequences. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Ready for a motion?
Sure.
Acting chair, I would make a motion then that we adopt ordinance 2021-32.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Heyer, second by Councilmember Nadolski to adopt proposed ordinance 2021-32. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Nadolski?
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens?
Aye.
Councilmember Chaburka?
Aye.
Councilmember Heyer?
Aye.
Councilmember Lopez?
Aye.
Vice Chair White?
Aye. That passes.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
I really appreciate Angel's comment, especially about the community service. I was actually thinking about that, and I was just going to ask you about it later, but I would love to look into that a little bit to see if that's a possibility for those that are struggling to pay.
I had a thought about that, and it was just a thought. Driving a car is not a right; it's a privilege. So therefore, parking a car probably is that same thing. While it has become pretty necessary to get around in our society, and I don't know how equitable it becomes. I mean, we require people that drive to have insurance, and that costs money, and all of the things that go, and we don't prorate that based on people's income. So I don't know how exactly a fine that was associated with a violation then fits if driving a car is not a right, it's a privilege. So I don't know where that goes from there. That's just all the time I had to process that. I think there are responsibilities for the things that we choose to do. And that's all I got to say about that. So
I would think that if we went through the process of understood how that citation is handled, then we would understand that. I'm sure when the citation is being presented, that at that time a judgment is made and different arrangements have been made, will be calculated. As mentioned before, there is a payment plan, and I'm not sure if legal has any additional information along those lines or not.
Well, yeah, I guess I can quickly respond to that. So this is parking citations in Ogden City are civil citations. They are not criminal citations. and so people aren't getting arrested for them. They can pile up and do need to be addressed. At this point, so in making these amendments, we talked with the hearing officer about issues that they were seeing over there where they processed them, and that was why one of the changes was made, was at their suggestion. At this point, they hadn't indicated that they were receiving requests for some alternative to time, to giving people time. So I think if that becomes something that they see a demand for, that we can certainly look at changing the ordinance at that point. But at this time, they hadn't indicated that that was a problem that they were having over there.
Since you're on your soapbox, could you talk a little bit about the, the idea of if somebody can't afford the ticket? Can you talk about that at all? Is that,
I think
was
they
I
can.
Off base? Was I?
No. I think they could bring that up with the hearing officer. That there's an issue. Usually, my sense of this is that the most frequent times that these happen are when people have chosen not to communicate, and almost invariably. The more that people communicate as soon as they see there's a problem, the more options they have. But yeah, they could bring that up to the hearing officer and talk about it and work with the hearing officer. As all I was trying to say was that the hearing officer has not indicated to our office that they're having a problem beyond being able to make arrangements for people to pay. We also don't boot in the city, so that's not something we currently are actively engaged in.
Okay, moving on to the next item, subdivision recording fees. Mara Brown.
Thank you, Vice Chair White, members of the council. Mara Brown, Management Services Director. This is a small change that will hopefully have a big improvement to efficiency about 15 times a year when we have developers who want to record a subdivision plat. And currently the practice is that the developer meets the recorder at the county recorder's office, and they will pay the fee before we record the plat. And this will just allow the city recorder to request that payment in advance, and then for the city recorder to just go and do the recording themselves over at the county. So we've had several instances with developers coming from out of Ogden, southern Utah, other parts of the state where they might be delayed or something, and it just causes issues if they can't get there in time and staff has to wait. So I think this was just an excellent solution that our city recorder came up with, and it's basically just to pass through the actual cost of the recording of the plat.
Any questions? All right, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
This too is a public input. Take a motion.
Chair or Vice Chair White, I would make a motion then that we adopt ordinance 2021-33.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Heyer, second by Councilmember Stevens to adopt proposed ordinance 2021-33. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Stevens?
Aye.
Councilmember Chaburka?
Aye.
Councilmember Heyer?
Aye.
Councilmember Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Nadolski?
Aye.
Vice Chair White?
Aye. That passes. I just have a quick comment. We continue to ask our staff to do great things and look at different processes and make them better. And so I applaud Tracy for doing this. This was one of those that will make it easy and better for all of us. So we let her know. Thank you. All right. On to the next public comment. This is an opportunity to address the council regarding any concerns or ideas on any topic. If you'd like to approach the council.
Angel Castillo, Ogden resident. I want to live in a place where people who work for the fire department, police department, nurses, students, undergrad, graduate students, doctorates, adjunct professors, chefs like that El Cap kid with the Cajun restaurant. I want to live in a city where those people can afford to live. And we have brain drain that's happening from our talent from Weber State. They're not staying here for a myriad of reasons, but housing is one of them. And we have to do something differently. We have to consider what we're doing. And into council members your comment on infrastructure cost. That's a fallacy with regards. Chuck Marone, who runs Strong Towns US, who's a civil engineer, talks about that repeatedly. I've attended several seminars. And when you're building a cul-de-sac, absolutely, that costs the city. You never get that money back. When you build new development, absolutely. What we're talking about with the Own in Ogden program was stuff that we own that already has infrastructure brought to it, and we're just rehabbing. That isn't going to be a cost. Those people are going to pay for their water just like everybody else, their power just like everybody else. And on the parking tickets, we're not asking for prorating. I'm talking about people who might be in a financial hardship where they have to make a decision between a senior on a fixed income that doesn't pay attention to a sign. It has to make a decision about medicine or food. And Catholic Community Services sees a huge amount of seniors that have to make that choice every week, whether or not they're once a month, if they're going to go there and going to pick up a box. Somebody like that gets a parking ticket, is a little forgetful, misses a sign. What are they going to do? I'm not asking for a rate reduction. I'm asking for an option. And to Mr. Stratford's comment, yeah, maybe people aren't asking about it, but I'm pretty sure that it's being presented that, nope, these are your options. You got to pay. Here's a payment plan. Figure it out. I would like to have an option that says, look, if you are experiencing financial hardship and then show me that it's real financial hardship, then absolutely, let's figure that out, how you can maybe really extend the payment program or put it in a position where it's going to be not going to be costing them. I mean, there's lots of unintended consequences for people who are not like you, people who do not have the privilege that you have, don't have a house that they live in, they rent, they're working 2 jobs. We are a working class town, and I'm concerned about those people. I'm concerned about our working class, not the people who already own their homes and are doing okay and have double incomes. I'm concerned about seniors on fixed income. I'm concerned about veterans who are coming back and trying to go to school, can't afford things. I'm concerned about those things, and I'd like you to be as well. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a few people online. And just real quick before we get started, Brandon, if you just let people know how, and then we'll go through the whole list.
I apologize, my microphone died. If you would like to participate in public comments via Zoom, you can do so by using the raise hand feature found at the bottom of the application. And if you're joining us via telephone, you can raise your hand by using *9.
Thank you. On our list is David Timmerman. Go ahead, David. David, it looks like you're still muted. There you go. David, we just can't hear you quite yet, and it doesn't look like you're muted.
I wonder if he's using the phone.
I don't know. You try to unmute or try to allow him again, maybe. Or oh yeah. Hey, David, we're going to go on. Maybe you can try to come back in if that's okay. Lynn Carroll is next on our list. Go ahead, Lynn. And you're on mute as well.
Okay, let's try this. Should work.
Hello.
Hi, Lynn. How are you?
I'm sorry. Did you call me? I didn't have the right earphones on.
Well, you are on. Yep, you are on. So go ahead with your comments.
Here you go. Listen with this.
Lynn, can you hear us?
Now I can. I'm sorry. Very, very sorry.
You're fine.
So my comments have to do with the community renewable energy program. I wanted to say, have you noticed how many heat records are being broken this year? Climate change is getting worse and will continue to do so. Ogden won't stop it on our own, but we can do our part by trying to reach net 100% renewable electrical energy by 2030. Doing so won't make us more likely to have power outages. That little word net that's often dropped when we talk about the program is important to understand that Rocky Mountain Power would provide electricity with renewables in the amount needed to provide electricity to our community, but it wouldn't come directly from the sustainable source to us. It would go out on the grid and during the night and times when the wind doesn't blow, blah, blah, blah. We would still get our electricity. They would figure out how to do that. So I'm asking, I don't think that it's going to cost Ogden residents much extra, if any, and somebody's got to start doing something about climate change, and why not Ogden? Please stay in the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Next up is Heath Sato. Go ahead, Heath.
Okay, am I unmuted now?
You are unmuted now.
Okay, great. Hi, Heath Sato, Ogden resident. I felt the need to address some comments made regarding renewable energy in the work session today. Yes, there have been some days when California produced too much energy and had to pay Arizona to keep their system from being overloaded. The flip side that wasn't mentioned is that there are also days that California produces more power than it needs when neighboring states need that power, and those states pay quite well for that excess energy. So it's not nearly as one-sided as was presented in the work session. Solar in particular has recently dropped to the same price or cheaper than most other types of electricity. As a latecomer to the solar game, we could learn from any problems from other states have had and create systems that are more easily cut off from the power grid to avoid those problems. We can be a leader rather than a follower. As for the Texas energy crisis being blamed on renewables, with all due respect, that claim was fully debunked right after those false claims were first made by certain news outlets. In reality, this is a two-pronged issue that had nothing to do with renewables. Texas is the only state that has chosen to not connect itself to our nation's energy grid, so they had no option to buy power from out of state when the problem started. The second issue was natural gas, which is about half of Texas's energy production. About a third of their gas-fired systems froze up and went offline. Solar is 1% of Texas's power. Wind is 20%, but a smaller percentage of wind power went offline than natural gas. Things would have been worse in Texas without their renewable energy sources. And I'll add this, California has never had an energy crisis like Texas has. Frankly, I'm exhausted with claims that we need all the answers before we can adjust our course. Few of us will be around for the worst of what we are now creating for our children. It's selfish. You've all likely noticed the acceleration of changes in our weather. Honestly, I think it may be too late to do anything, but we have to try. What is going to happen to the city's economy when we have less and less snow in the winter? We alone are not going to solve this, but every city that decides to wait this out is a city making our future worse. The argument that it's better to not have a seat at the table for these conversations just does not make sense to me. This administration seems to be more than willing to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars on benefiting a single developer that's cozy with them, but $35K to look at helping to save your children might be too much. We need to stop pretending like this issue of what we're doing to our environment is just going to go away. We spent the last 40 plus years in denial that this is even a real thing. When do we stop pretending? When we have no drinking water whatsoever in our city? If we don't do this, what is the plan? Will we put as much effort into our children's futures as we do with street naming? Thank you.
Thanks, Heath. Next up is Trevor Jones. Trevor?
All right. Hi. Can I be heard?
You can. Yes, now's your time.
Excellent. Thanks. I do appreciate the arts funding and the great discussion that we had with that. I don't want to denigrate that or anything. My name is Trevor Jones. I am an Ogden City resident. I've lived here for about 2 years, and as several others have commented, the Community Renewable Energy Act is of great importance to me. I have my daughter here. It's a shame that I can't get my my video to work right here, because I actually happen to have my daughter here on my lap. And she is right now the reason that this is so important to me, because I do consider it to be a real issue. As has been mentioned before, you know, we're starting to see some really, really unfortunate effects of a changing climate. The state legislature has recognized as much. They've recognized that there is a changing climate, and they've recognized that work needs to be done to overcome it. The question is just what and how and when. There's been a lot of really, really good work done by a lot of really dedicated people over the last 10 or 15 years to really bring down these renewable energy resources so that the cost is pretty comparable already to getting our energy from natural gas, and is likely to decline even further in the time frame that we're seeing here. So I wasn't able to make it to the very start of the work session, and so I don't know exactly what was said by whom. But I understand that, as with any big and potentially controversial thing like this, there'll probably be some of you esteemed councilmen and women who are in favor, maybe some who are opposed, maybe some who are on the fence. And I'd just like to really talk to those who are in favor and say thank you. Thank you very, very much for your support of this on behalf of my children and my grandchildren and everyone else who will be living with this in a later time. To those of you who are maybe a little bit on the fence about this, I just really want to implore you to think about it and to consider the science behind it, consider what it means to be a good steward of the earth and its natural resources. And I understand that it may, in the long run, be less expensive as well for Ogden City residents if we are forward-thinking and proactive in all of this. So I understand there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of strong emotions, but I just urge you, when it comes up, to vote for the interlocal agreement and the Community Renewable Energy Act. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is Bonnie Christiansen. The time is yours.
Hi, thank you very much. Like you said, my name is Bonnie Christiansen, and I live and work here in Ogden. And I just wanted to comment here today. I moved here in part because I loved the outdoor experiences that were available to me here. I love going hiking on the mountains. And it's been a little tough for me to get out this summer just because it's so hot. But the reason why I'm commenting today is because I just really wanted to let you know that I'm deeply grateful for the work that the City Council is doing on looking at engaging with this clean energy option that we have before us. I really wanted to just let you know that I've been watching your work on this, and I admire what you're doing on that front. So I would like to encourage you to look at signing on for the interlocal governance agreement. Right now, I've been working in clean energy field for about 20 years, and there's been a massive shift that has happened. I've noticed even in just the last 6 months. And I'm in this arena for myself because I do have a concern about climate change and the things that are coming down the pipeline. They've been coming much sooner and faster than I thought that they would. And that said, I recognize that some people, it's not something that is of concern to them. And I think that's okay as well. Something that I have noticed is that there's been a massive shift in terms of who's coming to the table to have conversations about this. I attended a sustainability event by The Economist magazine, and the people that were talking about climate change, planning, and solutions were companies like Walmart and PepsiCo and Levi Jeans Company and Unilever and Palmolive and ExxonMobil and many others that were there at that event. And it got me wondering, who here in Ogden actually is espousing, taking responsibility or engaging and making sure that they're taking climate action. And a quick Google search in about 10 minutes led me to find Amherst Poets, Osprey, Solomon, Oatly, Hyperthreads, and others that are either making solid commitments themselves as businesses or engaging their customers and their fan base to get engaged in action here. So I'm just really proud of you guys for staying involved in this conversation, looking at, and I would like to ask that, you make the leap and work with the other municipalities that are working with Rocky Mountain Power to look at how you can make clean energy an easy choice for people here in Ogden and for businesses as well. So I just thank you for your time and efforts.
Thank you, Bonnie. Next on the list is Sebastian Benitez, sorry. Thank you. Sebastian, the time is yours.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you to having me tonight too. I sent to you guys email because I am worried about our police officer. And I hope everyone received the copy of the email to each of you, the city councils, including the mayor. This is not to accuse anybody. It's no pointing finger for somebody, something like that or no. But I like to remind you to work in the budget and try to make some amendments. And Salt Lake City just barely approved to pay better 30% more to the police officer to retain and to bring back many other ones. And I have a few few police officers contact with me again, and they say they are ready to leave again. And if you remember, a couple of years ago, 50 police officers leave from our department because the payment system. And I don't want to lose any police officer. Ogden City is not ready to lose anybody, including the regular workers. And I like to remind you, 94 workers leave from the city worker leave. You remember 26 retire, and the rest going for better pay, better life, something like that, Please, can you consider the budget and work about our great police officer in our city? Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the list is David Timmerman. Let's try it again, David. The time is yours.
I'm trying. Can you hear me now?
There you are.
There you are.
Okay. Thank you, Vice Chair and council members and Mayor. Thanks for the time. I'm an Ogden City resident, have been for going on 7 years, and I love it. I love the outdoor scene. I appreciate the community and the proximity to so many great events, to the beautiful mountains, the trails, the proximity to activities and restaurants, which are just fantastic. I'm here to add my support, as I have many times, that we continue to support the Clean Renewable Energy Act, or House Bill 411. To me, this is the number one issue, not just for residents of Ogden, but for people worldwide. And we can pretend that everything's fine and look the other way. But when we have violent winds several times a year, when we have extreme heat in Canada causing deaths, when we see these fluctuations and problems that we're experiencing worldwide, that means that this is not a hoax. And if you haven't had an opportunity to read Trevor Jones's remarks, take a minute. It was in today's opinion page of the Standard Examiner. I think it was today. But it's worth reading, and he summarizes it quite well from the heart. But please support this. I know there'll be a vote next week, and if possible, I'll try to participate in that. But I support this and would urge all of the council members, even those that may have opposed it initially a year and a half, 2 years ago, to reconsider and think about the situation we're in now and how it seems to become increasingly more severe. We all need to try to work to this. This is a way to get Ogden on the map and show that we support clean, renewable energy. Please vote yes next week. Thank you much for your time, and thanks to the City Council for all they do week to week, as well as the mayor and all the staff in the city. I know they're good people, and this is going to benefit all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Bonnie still has her hand raised, but she's already done. Mm-hmm. Anyone else? Anyone else? I was getting feedback, so I turned it off. Sorry. All right, seeing no other public comments from the mayor?
Sure, just a couple quick things. I want to give a big shout out to our public safety officials that all stood up and took extra shifts and did extra patrols over the weekend. I can't speak for y'all, but I had a hard time sleeping, worrying about what our conditions are like. And with the fire we had on Tuesday and then the barricaded individual on Wednesday, they've had a week. And they all showed up big time over the weekend to celebrate the 4th and allow us to do that safely. And we just can't thank them enough for what they do and the service they provide to our community. For my house, it was a lot quieter than it's been in years past. My dog wasn't as freaked out as he has been in years past, and I've appreciated our community stepping up and being responsible with fireworks and what's going on. So I want to give a big shout out to our public safety group. I also want to thank the artists and grants. We're happy we're able to do that. They really do help define downtowns and areas and bring a different flavor to what happens. We're very appreciative of the work that they do. I had the privilege to stand up and manage the ramp tax when it was first enacted at the county, and I got to see a lot of what so many people did, and the work that they put out there is extremely personal, extremely unique, and I really do appreciate what they've done. Those new murals along the Grant Promenade over there are amazing. We just have so many people that continually step up and make this town more beautiful and more unique, and I appreciate that. And I feel fortunate that we're in a position to give grants and would look to continue to increase that and do more of it, because it really does help define us. So with that, I think we have a meeting next week, but then we're going into Pioneer Days and everything else. But just wish everybody a great 4th. We live in an amazing community, and we should celebrate that. And I'm very grateful for everything everybody contributes to make it so. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Comments from council members?
I'd just like to echo what the mayor had to say, and July is a special month, Mayor. I too, in our neighborhood, we had less fireworks, and I appreciate that. I'd like to congratulate the citizens of Ogden for stepping up and saying, gosh, this is a year to be more wise than foolish. And I think that's the idea that we have here. The murals that have been put on the parking terrace, they just add a special flavor to our city, and especially to those visiting our city, and they'll recognize those, and it'll be for a long-term process. I was listening to a program on television, and the comment was that in 1776, the country was not perfect. Well, even today, the country that we enjoy and appreciate is not perfect. But we are doing the things, hopefully, that will change that. America provides opportunity and hope. And that's the essence of what America is all about. When I was younger, I was coming back from England to the United States. I left Southampton on an ocean liner and was going into New York Harbor. And the morning before we landed in New York, the information came out that if you get up at 7 o'clock, we'll be passing right by the Statue of Liberty. And if ever you wanted to understand the preciousness of this great country, that was what impressed my mind of this wonderful country that we live in. We have the opportunity today to address councils. We have an opportunity today as citizens to address state legislatures and even the national government. Very few countries permit that, and it's our rights to do that, and I appreciate that. And so my comment today is happy birthday, America. And I hope that we all enjoy the 4th of July. I hope we enjoy the 24th of July, because that's part of who we are here in America.
All right. Any other comments? Just waiting for the skies, to comment.
Open up.
Are you waiting for me to speak? Is that what you're saying?
I'm looking upwards to see where that's where the voice comes from, above.
Yeah, I apologize that I wasn't there in person this evening, but yeah, I just want to really share my appreciation for the community as well for supporting our efforts to keep our community safe. And also just, last week when we had the horrible fire downtown, I live up the hill just a little bit on Jefferson Avenue. I looked out my third floor window and saw this fire, and it looked so huge, even just behind the houses just across the street from me. So my husband and I immediately headed out the door and went to find where the fire was, because it looked like it was so close, but it was just so huge that even though it was, half a mile away, we walked all the way down to Washington Boulevard there. And it was just incredible to see the firefighters and the first responders out there putting themselves at risk in that way. Really made my heart, hurt and really be worried about the families or the people living in that area. But, it's just amazing to watch people that run towards those kinds of incidents versus, I would probably run farther away, although I just wanted to find out where the fire was and what was happening. So we walked down there. And so I just applaud those efforts and really hope that those community members are doing okay that were affected by the fire too. So that's all.
Thank you. No other comments?
Motion to adjourn.
I need a second.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Heyer, second by Councilmember Stevens to adjourn. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Good night, everyone.